Okay, so now we've got to the end of this program, and what I want to do quickly is I want to recap on the big ideas. We have about close on over 5 hours of footage of instruction, but if you look very carefully, there's some big ideas that I think are very, very important in developing that foundational game, and that's really what I just want to end this series off on. So if Dwayne's lying down, I'm playing the top position. Alright, so turn around, playing the guard, okay, and he's in the guard position. We come over here. Alright, so he closes up the guard. Remember, yeah, the most important thing on dealing with the closing of the guard position was to get these legs to extend. Because if you can get somebody's legs to extend, then you're weakening the grip. You don't want to try to break it here. So the one big idea is to get this extension. The way that we got that was by making sure that we put our knees underneath the butt, and then when we step, we take a big step, right? Because if I don't step big enough, what's going to happen is I'm not going to go anywhere, he'll attack my leg. So I want to get that big step, and then I start pumping on the knee, but because he's just hanging on a tether, it's likely going to come open. The other thing that we discussed that is also an idea that's very, very important is that the power of one. I don't want Dwayne, to be controlling me, right? Especially with two hands, like one on my sleeve, one on my collar, all these kind of things is really difficult. So wherever possible, I said, try to eliminate at least one of the grips. I mean, hey, in the best scenario, maybe he's doing this, I get both hands. Sometimes I'll lock both hands down and I'll use that as an opportunity now to step up and pass, right? I know that once I let go, he's got one hand in play, that's fine, and then I'm going to be attacking this knee to open it up. If I can't do that, then at least what I want to do is I want to at least keep one hand on me, that's fine, because I probably can't get it off, but at least don't let the other hand then connect. So I'm always just dealing with one hand all the time. So that was another big idea. The next thing was that once I'm able to open up this guard, I want to be immediately aware that there are three ranges that I'm dealing with, right? There's the mid-range, there's the close range, and there's the extension range where I'm getting him to extend. As somebody who now wants to pass this guard position, what's crucial for me is that I don't want to try to pass in the midline. If you've gone through the series now, you know that one of the things he's going to be doing on the bottom is trying to occupy the midline all the time. So I have to find a way to either get in really close on him, right, to get the pass, or I'm going to have to find a way to extend it. So that was an important idea as well. So another important idea added to this was that I said that, when somebody is lying down in this position, typically what they're going to be doing is using their hands and their legs. They're going to be attacking and they're going to be putting their feet on me. All right. I want to work to pass in a downward position with him. I don't want to stand up right now because then I've got all the legs to deal with, and that's not something that I want to be doing, right? Yeah, at least I do stand a chance of clearing a grip. I do stand a chance of getting myself real close so I can close up the line and I can start working some kind of pass, right? If, of course, at any time he set up on me, right, my concern now is that he's going to be using his arms against me to drag me in and make me make a mistake. So my first reaction was to stand up and then try to pass. At any time he sits down, I'm also making sure that I sit down. The other big idea was that when I do get a pass, ideally what I always want to do is I want to be blocking out the hip. This is crucial, right? Because we said that I'm the most vulnerable in the transition from one place to the next. And so he's going to utilize that transition against me. So we looked at that and we said that anytime we get past, we always want to block out the hip first. And when we were doing those microflows, we saw why that was so important. Why is it so important to block the hip out? Because you're stopping that person from getting the brace, right? You're making it harder for them to escape. Not impossible, but harder. The other big idea was that once I do get past, I must be prepared to move to another place. I don't want to get fixated on trying to hold something only to find that I've lost it, right? So, if I'm here and he's starting to move, I'm moving immediately to somewhere else, like north-south right now, like we did in those top microflows. So I'm making sure that I never just get fixated on holding one position, hold on, then I'm back in a bad spot and I have to try to work out of there. Now, if we switch this around now, and I'm now on the bottom, because those were like the major big ideas. Now I'm on the bottom here, right? I said that some of the big ideas here were that, sure, I might end up in a closed guard. I realized that it's not that easy to utilize the closed guard to attack. People get quite astute on how to defend that. He's going to work to open up the guard. I must be prepared that that's going to happen. If he does open up my guard, I don't want to have my legs hanging out here. I immediately want to come back and I want to attach my feet to Dwayne. That's important, right? Because once I do that, I'm now able to do the active guard. And the active guard was the idea of constantly being able to play against his ability to try and pass me. So that's controlling his biceps, controlling his hips. If there's an opportunity to put hooks in, I'm going to do that. All right. And the key element, the most important thing was play the midline. So if suddenly Dwayne starts moving in, I move back to control the midline. If he tries to stretch me out, I'm going to move myself in towards him to control the midline. I'm not going to stay out here and let him extend my legs so that he can get that pass, and then I get myself into trouble, right? So that was really important ideas there. Then we talked about the thing that if he starts passing my guard, so I've tried to do all of this stuff, I've tried to put all this active guard into play, and he does start getting passed, I want to not just kind of start thinking about escaping across side once it happens. I want to put something in the way. And the thing that we did was the pit stopping. So the idea of pulling a half guard, but not a full half guard, a half guard where we're using the 45-degree of the shin to stop him. So if I'm here and suddenly he gets passed, he's getting passed, I want to use my shin to block him and then pull myself back to the active guard position. If, however, he does manage to get past, then we really focused on making sure that I'm in a brace position. So I don't want to allow somebody to get past, get a clean pass, and then close down on me, because now, even though we covered it, this is much harder to get out of. So if Dwayne goes back, the big idea there was, okay, if he's coming past, make sure that you get in the brace position. Bring your knees up. See if you can pull back to the guard, either with the bottom leg, either with the top leg, or at times if there's an opportunity, maybe you're working that underhook position and you're escaping and you're pulling yourself out. Those were super important. Then of course, if all else fails, he does get you into a cross-side position. We covered what those escapes were, right? And again, typically one of the things there was, okay, still going to try to get back to the brace. If I can't get back to the brace, I'm going to roll to my knees. And the big idea on rolling to the knees was that anytime you roll to the knees, you make sure that you're always facing the direction of the person, right? So the example that we used was, let's say he was in cross side this side, he was holding cross side, he felt me escaping, he went to north south, I rolled, I make sure if I roll, I'm always facing him, right? So that I'm directly towards him, because I do not want him on my side. If he's on my side, he's going to be able to capitalize on that. The final point is, even though it is part of the top game position, was that anytime we find ourselves in a quarter position and I do have control, like especially like there where I came out and now maybe I'm in some kind of quarter position, right? The thing that I want to make sure that I do is I always stay with him, right? I don't want to hold too tight so that I get rolled over, but regardless of where Dwayne decides to go, I want to be staying with him all the time so that I can get that control. Sometimes he may roll over, I get cross-side, but I stay stuck with him. So we covered a lot of things. I think those are the big points, the big takeaway points. Of course, we try to structure this program in such a way that you can follow it all the way through and that it progressively builds off the last thing that we did, and hopefully you've got a lot out of it.